For operations of polynomials and functions, we know monomial means this is going to have an x and it's only one term. Bi means 2, tri means 3, poly means more than 3, and constant is just our number. So we can easily identify these. There's 1, 2 terms, which means binomial. 1, 2 terms, binomial. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's more than 3. That means it's a polynomial. Just my number means it's a constant. 1, 2, 3, trinomial. 1, 2, 3, trinomial. And quickly talking about standard form. Standard form, we need to put the largest exponent first. So it would be exponent to x to the 5th plus 10 x to the 4th minus 22 x to the 3rd plus x squared minus 100x plus 12. Biggest exponent all the way down to the constant. So this one is in correct form. This one, however, is not. Technically, we need to take the whole thing and flip it around. So we would add 3x to the 3rd plus 4x squared plus 3x plus 2. Adding polynomials together, we need to add our like terms. So I'm going to highlight. I have x squared and x squared. I have x and I have x, and then I have my constants. So first thing we need to do is 19x squared plus 7x squared, 12x plus 10x, and 12 plus 13. 19 plus 7 gives me 26x squared. 12 and 10 gives me 22x and 25. So my polynomial would be 26x squared, 22x plus 25. Coming down to subtraction, it's going to be basically the same thing. We put our x's and our x squareds together and our constants. Oops, that's the wrong one. Only thing different is now we need to remember to subtract. So now we would have 17x squared minus negative 6x squared. 7x minus negative 5x. Negative 14 minus negative 18. And first thing I noticed is I have a minus minus, or minus negative would make it a positive, and all of these are going to become positives. So now I have 17 plus 6 gives me 23x squared. 7 plus 5 gives me 12x. Negative 14 plus 18 gives me 4. Positive 4. So if I were to rewrite all of that, I get 23x squared plus 12x plus 4. Multiplying with monomials and polynomials, we are going to multiply our constants together. So we will have 2 times 4. And then we are going to write our exponents added together. So x to the 1 exponent plus 2 exponent, and we end up with 8x to the 3rd. Again, we multiply our coefficients, and we add our exponents. So we would have 19 times 2 and x to the 2 plus 5. 17 times 2 is 20, 34. 2 plus 5 gives me x to the 7th. We know how to distribute, so we're going to skip that part. And we're going to come on down to division. For division, we're going to start on 38. We're going to break this apart into individual fractions. So we'll have x to the 4 divided by 4, 3x to the 3rd divided by x, and 7x divided by x. Now, when we did multiplication, we added the exponents together, which means when we're dividing, we're going to subtract our exponents. We'll have x to the 4 minus 1, 3x to the 3 minus 1, and 7x to the 1 minus 1. Because remember, all of these have a 1 with them. 4 minus 3 gives me, 4 minus 1 gives me x to the third, x squared, and x to the 0 power equals 1. Functions. Instead of y, we're going to change it to f of x, and that makes a function. So this would be f of x equals 4x minus 1. And we read that, like I said, f of x equals blah, blah, blah. F of x, x is the input, and f of x would be the output. So basically, evaluating functions is the same thing as substitution. So I'm going to take my new value for x and plug it in. So now I have f of negative 7 is 4 times negative 7 minus 1. 4 times negative 7 is going to be negative 28. Minus 1 gives me negative 29. Moving on to a slightly more difficult one. Number 3. They tell me what h of x equals, and I need to change it to h of 9. So h of 9 is 2/3 times 9. And when I multiply by fractions, I want to write my whole number as a fraction. And then remember, we multiply straight across. So now we have 2 times 9 divided by 3 times 1, which gives us 18 over 3, which reduces to 6. Coming down to some slightly more difficult, we know how to do 11. We'll do 12 and 13 and probably 14. So 12, we're going to take g at 5 and multiply it by negative 2. So we'll have negative 2 times whatever g at 5 is, which g is over here. So negative 5 squared plus 2 times negative 5. 5 squared is going to be 25 and negative 10. 25 minus 10 gives me 15 times negative 2. That gives me negative 30. G at 4, so I'm going to take g at 4. So I'm going to have 4 squared plus 2 times 4 plus g at 1. So negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1. We'll solve this one first. 16 plus 8 gives me 24. And I end up with 1 minus 2, which gives me negative 1, which gives me 23. And the last one we're going to do is h and f. So we have 3 times whatever h of 2 is, which is going to be negative 5/2 times 2 minus 1 minus f at negative 9. So 8 minus 3 times negative 9. I'm going to do the second one first because it's a little bit easier. 3 times negative 9, negative 3 times negative 9. We'll do 3 times 9. Gives me 21. And we carried that negative sign down and the 8. Which gives me 29 because this becomes plus. Now, I'm going to come over here and change this to a fraction. And my 2's cancel out. So I'm left with 3 times negative 5 minus 1, which gives me negative 6 times 3. And that gives me negative 18. Negative 18 minus 29 gives me 30, 47, negative 47 if I did my math right. And that will be the end of that one.